This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at Curaleaf, one of the nation's leading vertically integrated medical and wellness cannabis operators. With 49 local dispensaries, 14 cultivation sites, and 13 processing facilities serving more than 150,000 registered medical marijuana patients. Check them out over at curaleaf.com. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Friday, October 4th, 2019, and you're tuned in to episode 812 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We start the day off in New York State, where yesterday a court order halted a planned ban on the sale of flavored vaporizer products, just a day before it was to go into effect. The court order holds until at least October 18th, when a hearing will be held to further consider the overall case. It looks like WHAM 13 News broke this one after a vaporizer retailer heard an automated message on the state health department's vaping hotline saying the ban was, quote, not going into effect at this time because it's subject to ongoing litigation, unquote. There's a copy of the court order halting the ban over at WHAM that you can swing over to read yourself. The news should come as a relief to New York vapor retailers, though many have already sold off their stock of product at below retail price. This is an interesting twist on an all-consuming storyline. Continuing on the all-consuming vape storyline, we have Chris Roberts over at Mary Jane picking up on a new study just released looking at the potential causes of the vaporizer-related health problems now seen in more than 1,000 cases nationally. Researchers with the Mayo Clinic studied lung biopsies of 13 people thought to have suffered from vaporizer-related illnesses and found that the injuries were similar to those caused by the inhalation of toxic fumes and poisonous gases. Interestingly, they did not find any evidence of any kind of fatty buildup, which you'd expect to see if the cause was vitamin E acetate, which has been suspected of being at fault. This one is far from conclusive, but it does give us more information to operate with, so maybe not a bad one to click through to the original study. Our final top headline today and for the week is an interesting story out of Canada, finding that 10% of Canadians work in a place where it's okay to consume cannabis during their workday. Of those folks, around half say they actually take advantage of that by sparking up or vaping while working. The exact percentages for daytime consuming workers breaks out to 5% of Canadians saying they get high before work, another 4% who get high at work, and another 5% saying they get high after the workday is done. This one's interesting at the topical level, but I think there's also something deeper here behind the phenomenon of people getting high at work. Not a bad storyline to have a general handle on. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Curaleaf, one of the nation's leading vertically integrated medical and wellness cannabis operators with 49 local dispensaries, 14 cultivation sites, and 13 processing facilities serving up more than 150,000 registered medical marijuana patients. Curaleaf is excited to be supporting the Veterans Cannabis Project, the leading organization advocating for unrestricted and supported access for medical marijuana for military veterans. Curaleaf is helping to raise both awareness of and funds for the Veterans Cannabis Project, which you can learn more about over at curaleaf.com, spelled Curaleaf. Just click on the About Us link where you'll find more about how Curaleaf is working with the Veterans Cannabis Project, which you can dive into more over on its website at vetscp.org. That's vetscp.org. Big thanks to everyone at Curaleaf for supporting today's news. All right, time for the Blitz. The Alaska Alcoholic Beverage Control Board voted 5-0 last night to remove Erica McConnell from her position as head of the Alaska Alcohol and Marijuana Control Office, citing quote-unquote differences in temperament for the decision. The recommendation will go before the state's Marijuana Control Board, which is set to meet late next month. Ms. McConnell was asked by reporters about her thoughts on the matter and said she thought her ouster came as a result of pressure from Republican Governor Mike Dunleavy. Booze giant Constellation Brands, which invested a few $1 billion in Canadian cannabis biggie Canopy growth last year, saw its stock price fall more than 6% after it reported a $484 million write-down on the investment made into Canopy. Canopy's stock, however, rose 2% on the news. Digital payment processor Square just announced that it would start allowing merchants to sell CBD products through its service. This follows a small pilot program the company ran earlier this year with select CBD merchants in certain states. Michigan cannabis regulators just released their application for adult use marijuana business licenses, which will be accepted starting on November 1st. The state is issuing adult use business licenses for cultivators, safety compliance labs, social consumption establishments, micro businesses, marijuana event organizers, and temporary events like concerts and festivals. Pop over to Marijuana Business Daily for more details here and for a link through to Michigan's application process. Meg Hartley over at Leafly has an important story up about a bill recently passed in California that would allow people living with terminal illnesses with medical marijuana recommendations to use cannabis while under hospital care. The marijuana would not be smoked or vaped, but otherwise patients would be free to consume. This is a tricky situation for hospitals given their reliance on federal funding, but it sounds like Senate Bill 305 was crafted to give them enough room to work with cannabis patients without jeopardizing any kind of federal funds. Senate Bill 305 is nicknamed Ryan's Law, named after Ryan Bartell, who passed away from stage 4 pancreatic cancer, but who was able to enjoy a higher quality of life in his final days because he was using medical marijuana. Ryan's father, Jim, has stepped up in the wake of his son's death to champion the cause. Senate Bill 305 still needs to be signed into law by Governor Gavin Newsom, who is expected to do so. California's Humboldt County Economic Development Division just put out a job listing for a marketing consultant to push the Humboldt County cannabis brand. They're holding the application window open through the end of next month, which you can click over to yourself at KRCR. And finally for today, Naomi Martin and Dan Adams over at the Boston Globe have a good story up looking at how Massachusetts consumers are dealing with the recently imposed ban on the sale of vaporizers, both THC and nicotine. As they have it, nicotine vapors are doing everything from driving to New Hampshire to stock up, to buying vapes on Craigslist, and even going back to smoking tobacco cigarettes. I just want to highlight a comment made by Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker, who initiated the vape ban after he was told that people were going back to smoking cigarettes. Baker said, quote, "In 2 or 3 weeks, you're not going to have any kind of impact on your physical health smoking cigarettes that these devices have delivered to people around the country," unquote. To be clear here, Charlie Baker, the governor of Massachusetts, just said that since cigarettes won't kill you in a few weeks, it's no biggie if you have to smoke them. This is despite the fact that all of the evidence that we have available points to illicit market THC vaporizers as the causing factor. Baker is disingenuously conflating the issue of the current vaporizer health scare and the general use of nicotine vaporizers. There's nothing good down that road. Read this story. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again Monday morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Curaleaf, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the lesser strikes of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in, starting your day with marijuana today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.